Can I call him?
Can you just call Nagaraj?
Yeah.
And Rahul, can you just call Srujan and find out?
I tried calling.
Uh-huh. Okay. Any idea if he's joining in?
I'm not sure, but I'll let you know. I think he'll call me back.
Okay, sure.
Is someone calling Nagaraju?
Yeah, Kranti is calling Nagaraj, I think.
Emmanuel?
Yeah.
It's going to voicemail.
Okay, cool. So all of you have organizer access. Try and record this session. Okay, there is a little situation here. The reason being, there might be a power cut, alright, at another in 1 hour. So just in case that happens, I do not have a backup today. So we'll be continuing that session tomorrow. But tomorrow I'll be sitting at another place with a UPS on. Alright? Alright. Alright guys, so all of you can hear me clearly, I hope. So yesterday or day before, we were looking at trying to understand what were the different replication methods for moving data into the SAP HANA system. And we talked mainly about three major steps. One is the SLT, where you have the SAP's landscape transformation server for moving data from the source, usually SAP source, and having the SLT server in between, and then your database or your HANA database as your target system. And we've seen about how that architecture will work with the lower versions of SAP and also the higher versions of the SAP ECC system. All right. So the advantage with using SLT is it's able to bring in data from versions from 4.6c onwards till the latest versions of ECC. All right. The only constraint that you will have with the SLT is handling transformations. It is not too simple to handle transformations in the SLT system. You need to work on a lot of include programs to go and make the changes. But again, you can handle conversions, you can handle filtering, and you can also handle restrictions in the SLT transformation capabilities. All right. The second thing that we saw is where we were using the SLT on the same system, but on a different instance. You are including or creating the SLT server. The basic reason why you do that is in case your system is on the same, the latest version of the service pack and also on the kernel. You can go ahead and have the SLT set up on the same system as well. If not, we will leverage the usage of the solution manager. The different instance will be used to create the SLT. All right. So the third method that we looked at was the landscape transformation, the data services method of replication. And we tried to understand how the replication is handled as a bidirectional component here in the SAP Business Objects data services for replicating data from any of the tools into the SAP HANA database. But specifically talking about SAP ECC replication from the different SAP replication into the SAP HANA Studio or into the SAP HANA database, you have bidirectional arrowheads. If you see, you have something called as a repository, a local repository that you would be connecting into, and in data services, your logical connection to sources and targets is done with a name called as data stores, where data stores define the logical connection between sources and targets in the data services system. All right, and here we will be connecting to both. On one side, on your source side, we'll be looking at connections to ECC, and on your target side, we'll be connecting to the SAP HANA database. Again, this is not a single step. You have a couple of, just a moment, please. You have a two-step method here when you're dealing with the data services method. When you're doing it for the first time, one is you import the metadata of the tables from ECC through data services into the SAP HANA, basically to get the structure of the table. The second time around, you import that structure into the data services environment as a target table and load that data into the target table, which will be directly visible in the SAP HANA database. Alright, so this is a two-step process that you have with the data services method. Now, there are a few prerequisites that you will need to look into when you're dealing with the data services method of replicating data. So let me try to go and show that to you. Then we will talk about the advantages and disadvantages of using the SAP HANA, the SAP Business Objects Data Services 4.0 and its prior releases, Data Services 3.2. Now we could go ahead and replicate data. Alright, so let me connect to the server in here. Alright, so once you log into the server, in the start menu you have the SAP HANA Studio. That is the interface that you're logging into. A very brief into the interface that you're logging into. Here onto the left you have the navigator panel on which you have the server that you're connecting to defined, and under that you have three major folders. One is the catalog, one is security, and the other one is content. Alright. Previously the catalog and security were combined as one single folder. Now you have catalog, security, and the content folder. Right. The catalog folder basically consists of the different schemas into which you can load your data. So if you see here, you have these tables that you would be loading data into, and again you can define the schema directly from the SQL editor here. You can say create schema, and the schema name, you will have the schema created. Under these schemas, whenever you replicate data, you will be able to see that replicated data as tables or row stores under each of these schemas. Right? These schemas will be used again, and you would be using the tables on these schemas. You would define joins on them, and they will be used inside the content boxes where we have different namespace reservations. So here you have the namespace called as packages here in HANA. Just like how you have projects in data services and info areas in BW, you have packages in here. Under each of these packages, you can go ahead and create your different objects. You have the list of objects that you can create under each of these packages. Attribute view, analytic view, calculation view, analytic privileges, procedures, and decision tables. Alright, but before we even get there, now to create any of these models, we need to have these tables in the schema. So you will be using tables from schemas or across schemas, and you'd be defining the joins between them. But for you to have to create these joins or anything, apart from the structure, you also need to have these tables with the content or data. So what we will try to understand is we'll try to go ahead and see how do we populate the data into these tables. Alright, you have one method which is SLT, where you have data provisioning. So you click on data provisioning here, connects to your SAP's SLT server, and you also have something you can connect to data services. Now data services is an ETL tool. I don't know how many of you have an idea with the data services method of or data services as a tool. Basically, let me just open that for you. The Data Services 4.0 has another authentication layer, which is the Central Management Console. So you first log into the Central Management Console. So once you log into the Central Management Console, you will be able to log into any one of those repositories. So this is the interface that you have, just like how we have the Studio for HANA. You have the designer for the SAP Business Objects Data Services. Alright, so here majorly what we're concerned about is having a connection with the source system and having a connection to the target system, which is the the HANA connection. Alright, so here we have the concept called as data stores, and the data store is a logical connection that you make with the source or the target. Alright, so here we're considering a source like the SAP ECC system. You have HANA BO as a defined ECC source here. If you click on it, you have the connection details that you could go and connect to, and on the other side you also have a data store connection to the HANA database. Right. So once you go ahead and define that, we'll also have to look at a few prerequisite things that we would go ahead and do. Right. One is in the management console, you'll have to define the detection of the repositories. So just give me one second. So once we log on to the management console into the administrator, alright, so some of the prerequisites that you will be doing here is, if you go into the web services, you have web services configurations. So once you go into the web services configurations, there is something here called as import repo object. Alright, so you go to the import repo object and you will have to disable the security for that.
Hi, Manuel.
Yeah, Nairaj.
Is that mandatory step?
It is a mandatory step. The import repo object has to be, the detection of the repo should be disabled there. So this is done
Okay.
at a one time, not all the times. It is done
Okay.
as a one-time step. All right, and also remember whenever you are importing the so here if you have, so there is an import repo object, right? So you by default have checkboxes on all of these session security. So you'd go ahead and disable the session security for the import repo object. All right, so you can just select this and then change this to disable session security and apply. All right, so this is a part of the prerequisite steps that you will have to do. All right. So when I've integrated this with HANA, I did that step, and also on the servers that we have at office. So I'd want you to also follow the same steps. Right. So this is a one-time step. So only the first time whenever you're integrating, you would go ahead and do this setting on the management console. All right. You would also have the central management console, right? So if you go into the CMC, again, this is also a one-time step. You go ahead and define the
Get that. Can you please repeat that? For what purpose we are doing?
which one?
First time we
So
did the
if we
web
do
service.
if we do the import repo object, if we disable that, then only we will import the metadata from data
Exactly.
services into HANA box.
HANA.
Is that what you are saying?
That is
Okay.
true. Yes. So if you go into
Okay,
the
thanks.
so 1 second.
We can import metadata from only the ECC data store or any data store like a flat file or RDBMS or anything.
See, for writing directly into the HANA database, you use a template concept into writing into the SAP HANA database if you're using with any other databases. But for SAP, we have a fixed structure, right? So it has to get that structure and
Right.
and we have to load that data into that structure. So for that, it uses the HANA data store connection from SAP HANA to actually hit the SAP system and bring that structure. I'll show you how that works. All right.
Okay.
So whenever you install, also remember to have an encryption passphrase here. Basically because usually the system brings that in anyways, but sometimes you might have to create a manual connection. In those scenarios, you might need the passphrase. Remember that as well. There's another authentication layer that you have.
Can you please repeat that? Did you do anything that
I did
will
not
come
do
default?
anything. Basically, I'm saying that doesn't come as a default. It comes as an empty thing there. But I'm saying whenever you install your data services system, try to install or put the encryption passphrase as well. So basically, passphrase to be used for encryption purposes by metadata browsing and view data services. All right. So whenever you go into the manage connections, you will find that there is a column there for encryption passphrase. This will be fetched from data services into the SAP HANA system. All right. So if you don't give that, sometimes the system will say that some of the components are not completely filled. Alright, so remember to do that as well. Alright, so you have a connection here called HANA connection that we have defined as a data store. Here we go and click on edit. So you have something extra here called as data source, right? So you go ahead and define a data source as well. So you can go to the ODBC administration and you can go ahead and click on the system DSN. You'd find it there, or you could go and add a new connection, okay, and you can add the connection with the HTTP ODBC, right? So once you go and click on finish, the system will ask you the data source name that you want to define, something like, let's say, so here you have to define your server and port number, alright, that you will find it on the HANA system itself. So if you go into the modeler, so this is the server name and this is the instance number 05, and the port number wherever it is referenced, usually the port number is the index server port number. The index server port number is has a default port number as the instance number prefixed by 3 and suffixed by 15, which means our instance number is 05, so we have 3, 05 suffixed by 15, alright. So before that you have to give your server name, which is HANA SP5. Right, so you can go and click on connect. It will ask you for your system username and password. So once you click on it, it will say that the connection is successful. So you can use that data source to connect as well. Alright. So I'm not adding that right now. So once you go ahead and define that data source and check if you're able to connect to the SAP HANA Box database.
One more question, Ima. So what type of privileges, like system privileges, this username should have to make a connection to the HANA Box from outside systems? I mean,
so basic privileges is you should have the read and write capability to access the system and being able to write and make changes on that particular table. So that is majorly what is necessary. Apart from that, it will not allow you to do anything else.
okay.
So your only access is either to the tables. So if you see here, the metadata that you bring from the SAP HANA is like any database. You'd have functions and tables. That's all that you can bring in from the SAP HANA system. Alright, so here I've created also a data store for my SAP system, which we call it as the HANA BO. But once you go into the modeler, in the modeler you have a small tab here called Configure the Import Server. To configure the import server, basically you need to give the server address for the SAP HANA, the data services server. You have to give the repository name, and the default port. You have the default port at 8080. So once you go ahead and define that, the next thing is you have to select which server that you're using or which system. By default you have one system, that is HN5. So you go ahead and click on that, and here you have these options for importing objects from different systems into the SAP HANA box. So once I click on import, so I have different options based on what I'm trying to import, either from a local file or import transports, so BW models and all that. So here I have one option which says selective import of metadata. So you see that here, select the option, the import selected table definitions from SAP ECC source system using SAP Business Objects Data Services into SAP HANA database. So you could go ahead and click on this. So first time around it comes up with that. So once you click this, now here the source system connection is actually
So
connecting
it
to your,
is limited to only the SAP data store only, right?
absolutely, yeah. So if you're bringing in predefined structures from SAP, then you will be connecting to your SAP data stores only. All right. So here we can go and see the connection that we've defined, HANA BO. So you can go and define the SAP source that we have. So what HANA is trying to do is it is tunneling through data services and connecting to the SAP system. All right. And this, it is using the data store that we have created in data services as a connection mechanism. All right. That is, the data store name is HANA BO. So once you go ahead and give that information, so here you have the option to either extract tables or you have the option to extract even extractors as well. All right. So let me put it on tables, and then once we click on next, so the system
The tables and extractors, no hierarchies. Okay.
Which one?
Now only tables and extractors, no hierarchy.
So hierarchies, what do you mean hierarchies?
No SAP hierarchies, no the build.
Yeah, the thing is hierarchies are not supported at extractor level in data services, right? So you cannot bring in hierarchies even through extractors. But what you can do is you can flatten your tables and then bring them directly as template tables into the SAP HANA system. But the actual system doesn't take this long, so don't be scared. So once you go to the next screen here, so you basically have to give in, you're searching for the table that you really want to replicate. All right. So let's say I want to go ahead and bring in a table called VBUK. Okay, this is one of the sales header tables. So you can click on this arrowhead here. Basically what the system does is it uses this connection, the HANA BO from data services, and reads through the tables inside the SAP system. Alright, so it has a fuzzy search logic. Basically it brings in anything that starts with VBUK or has a component of VBUK in it. So your tables, your structures, all of them are brought from which have the VBUK component to it in the search, and you can go and search for the exact one.
Do we need to import VBUK table in data services?
It is not necessary.
Or
No,
we don't need
it is, you don't need to.
Okay.
But eventually we will have to, because once we go ahead and define the structure here, we'll have to load this data from SAP into data service, into the HANA system. So here what we're doing is we're not bringing in data from VBUK into the HANA database. What we're doing is we're bringing only the structure of VBUK, right? So since we want to load data of VBUK, so first we need to define the structure. So you select VBUK and then you add it to the target system, which is HANA. But in the HANA, you have so many schemas already in the catalog folder. So you have to drop down the schema and you have to mention which schema you want to go and load data into. So let's say you have a schema here. Let's say there is one here called Srini 2. I click next here. So once I click next, now the structure of this table is brought in here, but we need to validate this structure first, right? So once we bring the structure in, alright, remember this structure is bought through the data store that we've created in the HANA repository. So you just go ahead and validate this. So once you validate, click on next. You can click on finish. Alright. So this structure is supposedly to be added into the Srini2 catalog folder, right? So you go into the catalog folder and into the schema called as Srini2. I think they've deleted that schema altogether. Alright, we can go ahead and bring that into this NAG test. So let's go and create.
When you create a schema, do you have to give any you have to grant any privilege?
Which one?
When you create a schema, you have to give any grant options.
So you don't have to give any privileges at this moment, but in case you want to restrict a user from using data, then you can give privileges. So you have this created here, and pretty much this table is empty. Let's go and bring that in. So if you go to the SAP data store that we define here and go to manage connections, the manage connections basically will bring out all the properties of the data store into the SAP HANA system. So HANA BO is a data store that we've defined in data services. So all the properties of that data store, you can bring them into the HANA system. Somebody was asking a question.
Yeah, it's me. So you created a schema. By default, you made a connection to HANA Box by using a system username. So system has, it does has full permission on that schema, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Let me just refresh the screen once. So I have VBUK actually brought into the HANA database. Now, but if you go ahead and look at the data and the content, basically you will not have any data here. Alright, this is just the structure that gets imported. And what you will have to do is you'll have to go ahead and load data into the structure through data services. I think all of you know how to move data from SAP into a table. So you pretty much do the same stuff in there. But again, it is the improvement of the job design that will enable you to do replication in the SAP Business Objects Data Services. Let's say I create a new project here. Call this pretty much like HANA_load. Right click and say create a new job. So here, so to load data, first thing you need is the table from the SAP HANA side, SAP side. So here, let's say you bring in the VBUK table. I actually should be using an SAP ABAP workflow, but I'm not using. I'm doing a direct connection here. Oh, shucks. Just give me one quick moment. Yes, you can hear me, right? So the next thing is you have the source table there. The target table is again brought from the HANA connection here. So once you go in here, you have the tables. And you could right click on it and then bring that table schema that we have actually created in the schema called HANA underscore load. So you're importing data from an external data, which is HANA database. You can mention the name of the table, which is VBUK, right? So once you go ahead and click on VBUK and search for it, the system will take some time to search through all the schemas and will bring in the VBUK table that is available in all the schemas, alright? So once it brings that VBUK table in, then you could go ahead and use that as a connection and load data. So let's look for that VBUK. So it will all the places where VBUK schema is available in each of these schemas, it will bring in all of them. We will import only the one that we require, which is the schema from the HANA underscore load that we've just created.
What's the best method? Using the template table or bringing the method like this?
Using the structure.
Okay.
Right, so if you realize there is here one which says HANA underscore load, that is the schema name that we've given. So let's import this table. Okay, and we'll use this as a target table in the job that we're creating. So if you drop this down, we have VBUK underscore HANA connection, HANA underscore load. So I'll use this as my target table. I use my transformation. So it's a basic connection that I'm doing between SAP and data services and HANA. You see here you have the table structure from the source side, SAP, and you have the table structure that you have inside the SAP HANA system. Right, so basically just checking on if everything's fine. And let's say I want to go and execute this job.
Emmanuel, one question here in the data loading.
Yes.
In the database, I have a
Uh-huh.
field with a data type called XML in the SQL server. It contains XML data. So how we handle that in HANA?
You have XML what? The data type itself is XML.
Yes.
Okay.
So it contains some DTD schema. In the field itself, it is there. They have the schema.
Okay.
See, in the data services, we can use extract from XML function to bring that one and load into varchar. But in the HANA, if we want to see the just same XML data, how we can handle that?
I haven't actually worked with that. Probably I can give you an answer tomorrow. I'll have to check on that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just remind me again tomorrow. I'll probably give you an answer for that. So we've just completed the job. So here we have loaded 55,482 records into the HANA table. So once you've looked, you can go back into the
Are you there? Hello, sir. Nagaraj. Nagaraj.
Yeah, I'm here.
Manuel said he may get power cut. I don't know. But this, yeah, Kitty.
Okay, can you please call him?
What is that number? Hi, sir. John here. You got the power cut? So no class today? So I'll tell the other friends. So 9 o'clock Indian time. I will check with them one moment. I will check with them whether they are interested. Hello, friends. One moment. I'll check with them. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, he's telling he got power cut, and if we are interested, we can come at 9 o'clock today itself. That is 10:30 my time. Okay, probably he can continue tomorrow, whatever your choice.
Better to continue tomorrow.
Sir, everyone is telling better to continue tomorrow. So, okay. So please send the link and please send the timing in advance. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So he's telling you he's going to another place tomorrow. It will not be a problem from tomorrow onwards.
Okay.
So today's class is over. Nagraj sir,
Yes.
can I call you over phone?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So you can continue the class, sir. You can take the class. We are here.
No, man.
Okay.
We'll see tomorrow.
Okay.